The Universal monsters are some of the most iconic characters in all of fiction. Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, even slightly more obscure characters like the Wolfman or the creature from the Black Lagoon would be considered classic horror staples. Despite that moniker, these characters haven't had much representation in the parks. Sure, there's the outstanding Revenge of the Mummy at Universal Studios and the horror makeup show close by, but other than that, their presence has been fairly minimal, especially when you consider the recent closing of the Monsters Cafe. Still, there seems to be some effort to keep these monsters alive, or undead. A temporary monsters themed shop opened during the Mummy's prolonged refurbishment, and they've even had a huge presence in recent Halloween Horror Night events. All of that seemed to suggest that the Monsters Cafe may have closed for a reason, and with Universal's third park on the horizon, rumors started popping up about a Universal Monsters land. Now, it seems very likely that we're going to get this much anticipated themed land, with two of my most anticipated attractions in tow. Let's talk about why this area is such a big deal, and what might be coming to this highly anticipated new land. This is the third in a 6-part series covering everything you need to know about Epic Universe before it opens in 2025. Feel free to watch these videos individually or in any order, but if you want to catch the next part when it drops, be sure to subscribe, and check out the playlist in the description. Also, all sources used in these videos can be found in the description below. With all that out of the way, let's get into the analysis. Out of all the IPs coming to Universal's Epic Universe, the Universal monsters may just be the strangest. While the other lands are tied to their own specific movie or game, the Universal monsters are a combination of franchises taking place in a shared world. According to a recent report by Screamscape, this land should be themed to a European village, with Frankenstein's manor acting as the centerpiece. What's even more interesting about this report is the fact that this land will take place in the modern day. Rather than transporting you back in time, this land aims to act as a tourist trap, set up by the townspeople to cash in on their reputation. I'm a bit mixed on this concept. I think it's a bit of a funny idea and it has some potential, but I can't help but find it a bit cheesy. That may be perfect for this park though, considering it's aimed at families, but I hope they don't skimp too much on the more scary elements. At the very least, I hope it doesn't affect the theming too much. I assume there will be tacky decorations in the style of a tourist trap, but I hope it doesn't get in the way of the otherwise dreary atmosphere. There is an exciting rumor hinting at more scary elements, however. According to that same report, the Universal Monsters Land may turn into sort of a permanent scare zone when night begins to hit. If you're unfamiliar with Halloween Horror Nights, a scare zone is essentially a themed area where actors roam around trying to spook you. If this rumor is true, I'm curious if these will be actual monsters, or just townspeople dressed like them going along with the tourist trap idea. I obviously hope it's the former, but only time will tell. I'm also curious how guests may react to this. When you go to Halloween Horror Nights, it's kind of assumed you'll get jumped by a guy in a costume, but by regular park hours, I'm not so sure people will be into it. There's also some safety concerns, for both the guests and the employees, but with years of experience under their belts, I'm sure Universal has thought this through. I could easily see this getting cut, but I wouldn't complain if it does see the light of day. Other than that, there's a themed dining experience rumored for the land. Not much is known about this location, but I have a bit of a fun concept as a soft revival of the Monsters Cafe. Essentially, this dining location could act as a museum of sorts, showcasing the history of each of these monsters. It would still follow that tourist trap vibe, with some comedic elements throughout, but would work well as an introduction to these characters for guests unfamiliar. I don't know if the laboratory vibe would work, considering this restaurant would be separate from the manor, but it could be cool to see return. As a whole, this could be fun. Now though, let's get into the real meat and potatoes of this land, the rides. This land should feature 2 attractions, the first of which having gone through multiple changes. Based on concept art and patents filed by Universal, it originally seemed like we were supposed to get a high-budget monsters stage show. Allegedly, it would have had some impressive special effects, and really show off what Universal could do. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that'll be coming after all. When it comes to theme parks, I'm not personally the type who goes to these shows, so I'll admit that I'm much more excited about the recent rumors. Those recent rumors state that this land should be getting the park's 4th roller coaster, a spinning coaster manufactured by Mock Rides. While at first it seemed like this would be a family spinning coaster like Cobra's Curse at Busch Gardens Tampa, the recent report by Screamscape reports that it'll be an extreme spinning coaster. Currently, there are 2 of these in operation, Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City and Ride to Happiness at Plopsaland Japan. Both of these have been highly regarded, with the latter being called the best roller coaster in the world, so needless to say this recent report has made me even more excited. While I don't think this will be quite as intense as those other two rides, I think it could possibly outdo the dueling coasters in the hub of the park, which is a new development. Following the report, it seems like this ride will showcase a launch indoors, while the rest of the ride goes out into the forest. To me, that suggests it'll be low to the ground, which is why I don't see it being as intense as those other two rides. Still, I think I prefer this being an outdoor coaster. It gives Universal much more room to work with, and not to mention, most indoor coasters just seem like a big black box. As for the launch, I know I was a bit hard on the hub coasters for the same reason. However, these carts should spin while the launch occurs, making it much more intense and exciting, at least in theory. As for the theme, there's no strong rumor as of the writing of this video, but one that's been thrown out there is the Wolfman. Guests would be launched into the forest, attempting to run away from him, which could be an exciting concept. Not particularly strong, especially without giving context to those spinning vehicles, but things could change by 2025. All things considered, I think this is the best case scenario for a new attraction. I do hope it has some interactions with the village, and possibly an inversion or two, but either way, having a unique and intense ride like this coming to Orlando is pretty great. Despite how amazing that ride looks, I think the other ride in the park may just be my most anticipated. 15 years after Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey opened its doors, we'll finally be getting another KUKA Arm dark ride from Universal. Continuing in that tourist trap concept, this will be themed as a tour through Frankenstein's manor, led by his ancestor, Victoria Frankenstein. You'll be heading deeper and deeper into this manor, eventually coming across Dr. Frankenstein's secret collection of beasts, where things start taking a turn for the worse. There's not much known story-wise beyond that basic concept, but I think it can be assumed that the monsters break out in some way, which apparently may lead to a face-to-face with Frankenstein's monster himself. As a whole, while I find this tourist trap idea a bit cheesy, it does seem like a fun attraction. Even if it's a bit lighthearted at first, it seems like it'll dip into a darker tone later in the ride, which I do really appreciate. However, it's the more technical details which really get me excited about this attraction. Let's start with the theming. Firstly, when it comes to good news about that stage show's cancellation, it seems like some of that budget may have gone to this attraction. That should mean even better theming and even more advanced technology, which makes some of these rumors even more likely. One of these rumors is the Victoria Frankenstein animatronic we might see in a pre-show, which is fairly exciting. We rarely get animatronics from Universal, so having them dip their toes into it should be really great. At the very least, it's better than another Pepper's Ghost train effect. Other than that, it seems like this ride will be ditching the screen simulation segments of Forbidden Journey, which is a huge positive in my book. Those are my least favorite parts of that ride, so cutting them and focusing on the practical set pieces is incredibly exciting. It should mean even better and more detailed theming. Now let's get into the technical side. As stated before, this ride is rumored to use that same KUKA arm system, but with some tweaks. First, according to Screamscape, it seems like the seats will be on top of the arm rather than attached by the side. I'll be honest and say this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me logistically, but in theory it'll make it easier for the ride to turn in either direction. Secondly, the much more exciting rumor. Unlike Forbidden Journey, these KUKA arms might be utilizing roller coaster track. This looks absolutely wild and would be insane if it comes to fruition. It seems so complicated, but does come with a set of perks. It would allow for more elevation and speed changes, along with more thrilling elements if they wanted to. It should also be exciting to see the debates people will get into on whether this is a dark ride or a roller coaster. Overall, this is a fantastic looking ride, with some real potential. If all these rumors come true, it could easily be my favorite ride at this park, along with my favorite dark ride in the entire world. As a whole, it should be easy to see why this is my most anticipated land. While the theming has me a bit cautious, everything else seems perfect. An incredibly unique roller coaster utilizing the same model as some of the best in the world, and an advanced dark ride using an immensely complex system to take you through some dense theming. This land is sure to be a must-stop on every visit to the park. Hopefully, one of those visits will be on a cloudy day so I can really immerse myself in the dreary aesthetic. That's all for the third part of this series. I hope you all enjoyed this episode, and remember to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I'll be diving into Harry Potter's Ministry of Magic, so you won't want to miss it. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode.